Welcome to the stream. Give me 1 second. Okay. Alright, I like that. We're on a good volume. We're on a good freaking volume. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do one thing real quick. I am going to get the chat on here. Right. 1 sec. Okay. And I need to go to Twitch real fast. This is me. And I'm just going to steal the chat. I'm going to pop it out. And now I can just close that. And now I can just have this. Okay, let me say live. Live studying up. We're on the 3-day sub streak. Let's keep it going. Oh, I did that. Everyone wrong. Jay Bent, welcome in. Jay Bent, welcome in. Okay, so I got this when I was up in New York, and I'm going to write. You'd rather watch paint dry? Honestly, real. Honestly, real, bro. Okay, so I'm gonna write, because I'm gonna have to take some notes here. So I'm gonna have a page for this one, which is about 7 pages, and I'm gonna have a page for the next one. Yeah, we could do a paint drying stream. We could. And this is called The Inner Ring. Okay. The Inner Ring. Okay. So now we're gonna read, we put a video of paint drying in the corner of the stream. Okay. Wait, how would I even do that, bro? Honestly, that would take me like a hot second. You don't see it? Whisperon, what do you mean you don't see it? What does he mean he doesn't see it? It's in the just chatting column. Or just click on the stream on Discord. Yes, only Twitch today. Only Twitch today. Do you stream on Stream OBS or Streamlabs? I stream on Streamlabs. I could do it. It would take me a second. I could do it, actually. I could do a paint drying. It would just take me a second. Should I figure it out? Should I figure it out? I could do it. It would take me about 5 minutes. Yeah, that's what I would. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay, fine. We'll do it. We'll do it. Okay, new window, and we're gonna go paint drying. All right, we're gonna watch some paint drying. We'll go paint drying 10 hours. Okay, bet. Oh, I just made it my full screen. Okay. I just made it paint drying. We're going to make it muted. Dude, ad time. We need to refund you on that. It's going to take me a second. No, it takes more than 10 seconds, my brother. It takes more than 10 seconds? What do you mean? Okay, now we're going to go. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to put this right here. And then I'm going to do the screen capture thing. Give me a sec, guys. This is... let's go. Add new source, screen capture. For a second, it's going to look really odd. Okay, and then I'm going to shrink this. Guys, we're going to have paint drying also, so there you go. Give me a second. We're going to go full on shrink mode so that this doesn't take up the entire screen. So I'm sorry for right now that it looks like this. Still figuring out how to stream well, you know? I should need to give JBin access to my stream. I don't know if that's possible, but... Okay, this is good enough. Yes, you can refund yourself. Okay, so we've got paint drawing here at the bottom. And we're going to make a little bit of text that says paint drawing so people can also watch this. And we're going to go text. And we're going to go text and add source and add a new source. Paint drawing. Okay, this is going to take a sec. Paint. Let me uncaps. Because reading is boring. Okay, one sec. We're almost there. We're almost there. What's up, Crash? Welcome in. Okay, and we're going to change this to black font. And we're going to change it to Comic Sans because I love Comic Sans. And where is the black font? There we go. Actually, let's make it red. No, black looks better. Let's do a white as a background. Okay, can y'all see that? I guess black is the best. I'm going to make it bold so it's more easy to see. Okay. There we go. And we're going to shrink this a tiny bit. And we're going to put it... No. We're not going to shrink it. Sorry, we're just going to put it at the bottom of the screen. Is this too big? I think that's good. Like, I don't love it, but I think it's fine. Well, it doesn't... You can't really tell. Here, we're going to put it up here. We're going to put it up here. We're going to throw this up here as well. No, not right next to it. Let's do that over here. Okay, it's going to go up here in the top right. There we go. Okay, there we go. That's fine. That's like, I know it's not great. I know it's not great, but it's fine. It'll work. Okay. It's time to do some reading, guys. It's time to do some reading. So now, so this is called membership. So there's 2 of these, and they're basically the same length. They're like 7 pages each. I'm gonna read it out loud. And first I'm gonna go grab some water. I'm gonna grab some water first, okay? Then I'm gonna start reading these, and we're just gonna see where we get. We're gonna see what we get. If you see anything that you think might be important, feel free to say, you know, the line or whatever. And I definitely want to hear you guys' opinions on this because it is kind of a discussion. I want to know what your thoughts are. And then I am going to go grab water, and I'll be right back. Be right back, and that's when we're gonna start actually digging into this text. Okay, I'm back. Louis is back. Louis has come back to face the world. Now, if we lose a bunch of viewers, and wait one sec, and there's like 2, you know, if there's like 2 or 1 viewer, you know, we'll think about ending stream because, you know, but for now, we're doing it, and we're gonna see what happens. But here we go. Okay. I'm gonna read it out loud. No Christian, and indeed, no historian could accept the epigram which defines religion as what a man does with his solitude. Okay, that obviously is not true. It was one of the Wesleys, I think, who said that the New Testament knows nothing of solitary religion. We are forbidden to neglect the assemblings of ourselves together. Christianity is already institutional in the earliest of its documents. The church is the bride of Christ. We are members of one another. In our own age, the idea that religion belongs to our private life, that is, in fact, an occupation for the individual's hour of leisure, is at once paradoxical, dangerous, and natural. It is paradoxical because this exaltation of the individual in the religious field springs up in an age when collectivism is ruthlessly defeating the individual in every other field. I see this even in a university. When I first went to Oxford, the typical undergraduate society consisted of a dozen men who knew one another intimately, hearing a paper by one of their own number in a small sitting room and hammering out their problem till 1 or 2 in the morning. Before the war, the typical undergraduate society had come to be a mixed audience of 100 or 200 students assembled in a public ball to hear a lecture for some visiting celebrity. Even on those rare occasions when a modern undergraduate is not attending some such society, he is seldom engaged in those solitary walks, or walks with a single companion, which built the minds of the previous generations. Slay, thank you. He lives in a crowd. Caucus has replaced friendship, and this tendency not only exists both within and without the university, but is often approved. There is a crowd of busybodies, self-appointed masters of ceremonies, whose life is devoted to destroying solitude wherever solitude still exists. They call it taking the young people out of themselves, or waking them up, or overcoming their apathy. If an Augustine, a Vaughan, a Traherne, Caucus is wild, or a Wordsworth should be born in the modern, or of course going for, in Augustine, and they're referring to Henry Wordsworth Longfellow, should be born in the modern world, the leaders of a youth organization would soon cure him. If a really good home, such as the home of Alcinous and Arete in the Odyssey, or the Rostovs in War and Peace, or any of Charlotte M. Young's families existed today, it would be denounced as bourgeois, and every engine, bourgeois, I have no idea, and every engine of destruction would be leveled against it. And even where the planners fail, and someone is left physically by himself, the wireless has seen to it that he will be, in a sense not intended by Scipio, never less alone than when alone. We live, in fact, in a world starved for solitude, silence, and privacy, and therefore starved for meditation and true friendship. That religion should be relegated to solitude in such an age is then paradoxical, but it is also dangerous for 2 reasons. In the first place, when the modern world says to us aloud, "You may be religious when you are alone," it adds under its breath, "And I will see to it that you never are alone." I think you meant Caucus. I said Caucus. To make Christianity a private affair while banishing all privacy is to relegate it to the rainbow's end, or the Greek kalends. That is one of the enemy's stratagems. In the second place, there is the danger that real Christians, who know that Christianity is not a solitary affair, may react against that error by simply transporting into our spiritual life that same collectivism which has already conquered our secular life. That is the enemy's other stratagem. Like a good chess player. Oh my gosh, like a good chess player. He is always trying to maneuver you into a good position, where you can save your castle only by losing your bishop. In order to avoid the trap, we must insist that though the private conception of Christianity is an error, it is a profoundly natural one, and is clumsily attempting to guard a great truth. Behind it is the obvious feeling that our modern collectivism is an outrage upon human nature, and that from this, as from all other evils, God will be our shield and buckler. That feeling is just. A+++, exactly. As personal and private life is lower than participation in the body of Christ, so the collective life is lower than the personal and private life, and has no value save in its service. The secular community, since it exists for our natural good, and not for our supernatural, has no higher end than to felicitate and safeguard the family, and friendship, and solitude. To be happy at home, said Johnson, is the end of all human endeavor. As long as we are thinking only of natural values, we must say that the sun looks down on nothing half so good as a household laughing together over a meal, or 2 friends talking over a pint of beer, or a man alone reading a book that interests him, and that all economic, politics, laws, armies, and institutions, save insofar as they prolong and multiply such scenes, are a mere plowing the sand and sowing the ocean, a meaningless vanity and vexation of spirit. Collective activities are, of course, necessary, but this is the end to which they are necessary. Great sacrifices of this private happiness by those who have it may be necessary in order that it may be more widely distributed. All may have to be a little hungry in order that none may starve. But do not let us mistake necessary evils for good. The mistake is easily made. Fruit has to be tinned if it is to be transported, and has to lose thereby some of its good qualities. But one meets people who have learned actually to prefer the tinned fruit to the fresh. A sick society must think much about politics, as a sick man must think much about his digestion. To ignore the subject may be fatal cowardice for the one as for the other. But if either comes to regard it as the natural food of the mind, if either forgets that we think of such things only in order to be able to think of something else, then what was undertaken for the sake of health has become itself a new and deadly disease. There is in fact a fatal tendency in all human activities for the means to encroach upon the very ends in which we were intended to serve. Thus, money comes to hinder the exchange of commodities, and rules of art to hamper genius, and examinations to prevent young men from becoming learned. It does not, unfortunately, always follow that the encroaching means can be dispensed with. I'm turning off my heater. It is actually making me very, very hot. I think it will increase. Or I think it probable that the collectivism of our life is necessary and will increase. And I think that our only safeguard against its deadly properties is in a Christian life. For we were promised that we could handle serpents and drink deadly things and yet live. That is the truth behind the erroneous definition of religion with which we started. Where it went wrong was in opposing to the collective mass mere solitude. The Christian is called not to individualism, but to membership in the mystical body. A consideration of the differences between the secular collective and the mystical body is therefore the first step to understanding how Christianity, without being individualistic, can yet counteract collectivism. I need to look back at this. What is he saying? It's called not to individualism, but to membership in the mystical body. A consideration of differences and the mystical body. First step. Okay. So what he's saying right here is that we are Christianity is not an individual thing, but it's not. I think he's saying it's not like a secular collective thing either. So we're kind of in the middle, right? We are a membership in a mystical body, which he is not defining as a secular collective. And then he says, and the mystical body is therefore the first step to understanding how Christianity, without being individualistic, can yet counteract collectivism. So, like, we can move away from this collectivism idea, but also not be called, well, the first line, which is, no Christian, and indeed no historian, could accept the epigram which defines religion as what a man does with his solitude. We don't define Christianity as what a man does with solitude. We define it as... But we also don't define it as this collectivism. We defined it as this middle ground, this membership of the mystical body. That's what he's saying. At the outset, we are hampered by a difficulty of language. The very word membership is of Christian origin, but it has been taken over by the world and emptied of all meaning. In any book on logic, you may see the expression, members of a class. It must be most emphatically stated that the items or particulars included in a homogeneous class are almost the reverse of what St. Paul meant by members. By members, he meant what we should call organs, things essentially different from and complementary to one another. What is ethical behavior? Where is that? Where is that? Are you asking me personally what ethical behavior is? Or did he say something about it? Let me know. I can look back. Or I can answer what... You said, yeah. Wait, did he say it? Or do you want me to answer what ethical behavior is? And in what circumstance? I'm confused. Let me see if he said it. Just asking you. Ethical behavior in what circumstance? Like ethical behavior is like, of course, choosing to do the good things, right? Like ethical, like it's not ethical for me to steal someone's pencil, but like, I don't know, in a certain scenario, ethical behavior is kind of hard to say what the right ethical thing would be. I don't know, for me personally, ethical behavior in a very, very surface level answer is just choosing the, how do I say it right? Like okay, if the world, then the most ethical thing would be the most good thing to do in the situation, but the most good thing would be defined by like the most points thing. I don't know. You would have to give me a certain situation, and then I would choose what the ethical behavior in that situation would be. This is a very, very bad answer on what ethical behavior is. And I'm sorry for that. I could do research, but I don't know. If you have more of a question, let me know. If you have, like, if you don't like my answer, which there's zero shot you don't like my answer. I think there's zero shot you don't not like my answer. Wait. Yeah, there's zero shot you don't not like my answer. You definitely don't like my answer. But let me know if I can clarify or whatever. The very word membership is of Christian origin, but it has been taken over by the world and emptied of all meaning. In any book on logic, you may see the expression members of a class. It must be most emphatically stated that the items or particulars included in a homogeneous class are almost the reverse of what St. Paul meant by members. By members, he meant what we should call organs, things essentially different from and complementary to one another, things differing not only in structure and function, but also in dignity. Thus, in a club, the committee as a whole, and the servants as a whole, may both properly be regarded as members, though we should call the members of the club, what we should call the members of the club are merely units, a row of identically dressed and identically trained soldiers set side by side, or a number of citizens listed as voters in a constituency are not members of anything in the Pauline sense. Nothing wrong, that's your opinion. What's your opinion, Crash? What's your opinion, Crash? And I think them, and I would not, okay, I would personally, obviously, that ethics have a correlation to, like, religion. However, I would say that they can definitely be split apart, kind of, and people can obviously still be very, 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 I feel like I'm digging myself a trench, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say, like, Plato and Aristotle's, like, the way that they handled things all the time, was really ethically wrong at all. They were really, 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 like, they were obviously philosophers. They obviously were searching for the truth, and, how am I saying this right? Like, they were probably closer to knowing what the ethically right thing is in all situations than I am, by far, even though they weren't necessarily Christian. They definitely weren't Christian. But I would say, obviously, like, religion and ethics are very much linked, even though they were way farther than I would ever be at knowing how to behave well. Anyway, thus, in a club, the committee as a whole... Yeah, I read that. I am afraid that when we describe a man as a member of the church, we usually mean nothing, Pauline. We mean only that he is a unit, that he is one more specimen of some kinds of things as X, Y, and Z. How true membership in a body differs from inclusion in a collective may be seen in the structure of a family. The grandfather, the parents, the grown-up son, the child, the dog, and the cat are true members in the organic sense, precisely because they are not members or units of a homogeneous class. They are not interchangeable. Each person is almost a species in himself. The mother is not simply a different person from the daughter, she is a different kind of person. The grown-up brother is not simply one unit in the class children, he is a separate estate of the realm. The father and grandfather are almost as different as the cat and the dog. If you subtract any one member, you have not simply reduced the family in number, you have inflicted an injury on its structure. Its unity is a unity of unlikes, almost of incommensurables. A dim perception of the richness inherent in this kind of unity is one reason why we enjoy a book like The Wind in the Willows. A trio such as rat, mole, and badger symbolizes the extreme differentiation of persons in harmonious union, which we know intuitively to be our true refuge both from solitude and from the collective. The affection between such oddly matched couples as Dick Swiveller and the Marchioness, or Mr. Pickwick and Sam Weller, pleases in the same way. That is why the modern notion that children should call their parents by their Christian names is so perverse, for this is an effort to ignore the difference in kind which makes for real organic unity. They are trying to inoculate the child with the preposterous view that one's mother is simply a fellow citizen like everyone else, to make it ignorant of what all men know and insensible to what all men feel. I think I'm your only viewer. You are my only viewer. And you can leave if you want to. I do not want to hold you here against your own will. But yes, you definitely are my only viewer right now. But I'll stay live because I am kind of focused up right now. Once I finish this paper, I'll probably leave the live. They are trying to drag the featureless repetitions of the collective into the fuller and more concrete world of the family. A convict has a number instead of a name. That is the collective idea carried to its extreme. But a man in his own house may also lose his name because he is called simply father. That is membership in a body. The loss of the name in both cases reminds us that there are two opposite ways of departing from isolation. The society into which the Christian is called at baptism is not a collective, but a body. It is in fact that body of which the family is an image on the natural level. If anyone came to it with the misconception that membership of the church was membership in a debased modern sense, amassing together of persons as if they were pennies or counters, he would be corrected at the threshold by the discovery that the head of this body is so unlike the inferior members that they share no predicate with him save by analogy. We are summoned from the outset to combine as creatures with our Creator, as mortals with a mortal, as redeemed sinners with sinless Redeemer. His presence, the interaction between him and us, must always be the overwhelmingly dominant factor in the life we are to lead within the body, and any conception of Christian fellowship which does not mean primarily fellowship with him is out of court. After that, it seems almost trivial to trace further down the diversity of operations to the unity of the Spirit, but it is very plainly there. There are priests divided from the laity, catechumens divided from those who are in full fellowship. There is authority of husbands over wives and parents over children. There is, in forms too subtle for official embodiment, a continual exchange of complementary ministrations. We are all constantly teaching and learning, forgiving and being forgiven, representing Christ to man when we intercede, and man to Christ when others intercede for us. The sacrifice of selfish privacy, which is daily demanded for us, is daily repaid 100-fold in the true growth of personality which the life of the body encourages. Those who are members of one another become as diverse as the hand in the air. That is why the worldlings are so monotonously alike compared with the almost fantastic variety of the saints. Obedience is the road to freedom, humility the road to pleasure, unity the road to personality. I think that's the most important. Unity, the road to personality. I think I agree with him, but one of the things that I hate the most about reading any type of author is when they say something that like looks really smart on paper, but if you think about it in any other context would just like be a complete like what are you saying, brother? So I think I agree with him that unity is the road to personality, but like if it was anyone other than C.S. Lewis saying this, and anyone that had not already made this like this argument was really good, I would probably just be like, bro, you're just saying that to sound smart, and those are just two basically completely opposites that you just, I don't know. And now I must say something that may appear to you a paradox. Yeah, paradox, exactly. Like, these seem like a paradox. Like, what? He's gonna say something that's, like, actually smart, but if it was anyone other than C.S. Lewis and he hadn't already made this argument, I would be very skeptical. You have often heard that though in the world we hold different stations, yet we are all equal in the sight of God. There are, of course, senses in which this is true. God is no acceptor of persons. His love for us is not measured by our social rank or our intellectual talents. but I believe there is a sense in which this maxim is the reverse of the truth. I'm going to venture to say that artificial equality is necessary in the life of the state, but that in the church we strip off this disguise. We recover our real inequalities, and are thereby refreshed and quickened. I believe in political equality, but there are two opposite reasons for being a Democrat. You may think all men so good that they deserve a share in the government of the Commonwealth, and so wise that the Commonwealth needs their advice. That is, in my opinion, the false romantic doctrine of democracy. On the other hand, you may believe fallen men to be so wicked that not one of them can be trusted with any irresponsible power over his fellows. That, I believe, to be the true ground of democracy. I do not believe that God created an egalitarian world. I believe the authority of parent over child, husband over wife, learned over simple to have been as much a part of the original plans as the authority of man over beast. I believe that if we had not fallen, Filmer would be right, and patriarchal monarchy would be the sole lawful government. But since we have learned sin, we have found, as Lord Acton says, that all power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The only remedy has been to take away the powers and substitute a legal fiction of equality. The authority of father and husband has been rightly abolished on the legal plane, not because this authority is in itself bad. On the contrary, it is, I hold, divine in origin, but because fathers and husbands are bad. Theocracy has been rightly abolished, and not because it is bad that learned priests should govern ignorant laymen, but because priests are wicked men like the rest of us. Even the authority of man over beast has had to be interfered with, because it is constantly abused. So what he's saying here sounds very, very controversial to start. And you kind of have to actually read it to understand what he's trying to say. He's literally saying that if we had not had the fall, right? And I mean, there's, if we had not had the fall, he says that, what does he say? He says that patriarchal monarchy would be the sole lawful government. So basically, you would have still this system where it's like dad, mom, child, right? So, and he says that now, while that type of monarchy is not a bad thing, it's still not a bad thing. Fathers and husbands are bad, necessarily, because we have sinned. And so that, not original plan, but that has been skewed and can't really work anymore, even though it is a very divine in origin idea and would be the way that we would do it if there hadn't been the fall. And he even says, even the authority of man over beast, which was the original way to do it, has had to be interfered with because man is, in some cases, very, very bad to beasts. And so, yeah, I hope I kind of clarified that. Anyway, equality is for me in the same position as clothes, and as a result of the fall, and the remedy for it. Any attempt to retrace the steps by which we have arrived at egalitarianism, all the way up to a king ruling a nation, honestly, that is probably what he is arguing. But I don't want to say that that's necessarily what he is arguing, because all he did would say was patriarchal monarchy would be the sole lawful government. So, and I think what he was saying was in the context of a family, where it's literally the father is the head, and then you've got what it says, parent over child, husband over wife. Yeah. So I don't know if he's saying it goes all the way up to king ruling a nation, but he is saying the parents over children, for sure. Any attempt to retrace the steps by which we have arrived at egalitarianism and to reintroduce the old authorities on the political level is for me as foolish as it would be to take off our clothes. The Nazi and the nudist make the same mistake, but it is the naked body, still there beneath the clothes of each one of us, which really lives. It is the hierarchical world, still alive and, very properly, hidden behind the facade of equal citizenship, which is our real concern. Yes, Crash, because in the perfect world, in the world before the fall, I don't want to say God would kind of be that, but like before the fall in the Bible, God like walks with Adam and Eve and stuff, and so they wouldn't really need to elect someone to govern everyone because it would like be God, kind of. Do not misunderstand me. I am not in the least belittling the value of this egalitarian fiction, which is our only defense against one another's cruelty. I should view it with the strongest disapproval in any proposal to abolish manhood suffrage or the Married Women's Property Act. But the function of equality is purely protective. It is medicine, not food. By treating human persons, in judicious defiance of the absurd facts, as if they were all the same kind of thing, we avoid innumerable evils. But it is not on this that we were made to live. It is idle to say that men are of equal value. If value is taken in a worldly sense, if we mean that all men are equally useful or beautiful or good or entertaining, then it is nonsense. If it means that all are equal value as immortal souls, then I think it conceals a dangerous error. The infinite value of each human soul is not a Christian doctrine. God did not die for man because of some value he perceived in him. This is actually really good. The value of each human soul, considered simply in itself, out of relation to God, is zero. As St. Paul writes, to have died for valuable men would have been not divine but merely heroic. But God died for sinners. He loved us not because we were lovable, but because he is love. It may be that he loves all equally. He certainly loved all to death, and I'm not certain what this expression means. If there is equality, it is in his love, not in us. Equality is a quantitative term, and therefore love often knows nothing of it. Authority exercised with humility and obedience, accepted with delight, are the very lines along which our spirits live. Even in the life of the affections, much more in the body of Christ, we step outside that world which says, I am as good as you. It is like turning from a march to a dance. It is like taking off our clothes. We become, as Chesterton said, taller when we bow. We become lowlier when we instruct. It delights me that there should be moments in the service of my own church when the priest stands and I kneel. As democracy becomes more complete in the outer world and opportunities for reverence are successively removed, the refreshment, the cleansing, and invigorating returns to inequality, which the church offers us, becomes more and more necessary. In this way, then, the Christian life defends the single personality from the collective, not by isolating him, but by giving him the status of an organ in the mystical body. As the book of Revelation says, he is made a pillar in the temple of God, and it adds, he shall go on more out. That introduces a new side of our subject. That structural position in the church, which the humblest Christian occupies, is eternal and even cosmic. The church will outlive the universe. In it, the individual person will outlive the universe. Everything that is joined to the immortal head will share his immortality. We hear a little of this from the Christian pulpit today. What has come of our silence may be judged from the fact that recently addressing the forces on this subject, I found that one of my audience regarded this doctrine as theosophical. If we do not believe it, let us be honest and relegate the Christian faith to museums. If we do, let us give up the pretense that it makes no difference, for this is the real answer to every excessive claim made by the collective. It is mortal. We shall live forever. There will come a time when every culture, every institution, every nation, the human race, all biological life is extinct, and every one of us is still alive. Immortality is promised to us, not to these generalities. It was not for societies or states that Christ died, but for men. That's actually really good. It's like, not America is not gonna live on. You know, the post office is not gonna live on. Okay, there's terrible examples. But like, it was not for societies or states. So like, not for Oklahoma that Christ died, but for men. In that sense, Christianity must seem too secular. My bad, J-Bit. My bad. It was not for societies or states that Christ died, but for men. In that sense, Christianity may seem to secular collectivists to involve an almost frantic assertion of individuality. But then it is not the individual as such who will share Christ's victory over death. We shall share the victory by being in the victor. A rejection, or in Scripture's strong language, a crucifixion of the natural self, is the passport to everlasting life. Nothing that has not died will be resurrected. That is just how Christianity cuts across the antithesis between individualism and collectivism. There lies the maddening ambiguity of our faith, as it must appear to outsiders. It sets its faith relentlessly against our natural individualism. On the other hand, it gives back to those who abandon individualism. Keep up with the professor man. Exactly. An eternal possession of their own personal being, even of their bodies. As mere biological entities, each with its separate will to live and to expand, we are apparently of no account. We are cross-foddered. But as organs in the body of Christ, as stones and pillars in the temple, we are assured of our internal self-identity and shall live to remember the galaxies as an old tale. This may be put in another way. Personality is eternal and inviolable. But then, personality is not a datum from which we start. The individualism in which we all begin is only a parody or shadow of it. True personality lies ahead. How far ahead for most of us, I dare not say. And the key to it does not lie in ourselves. It will not be attained by development from within outwards. It will come to us when we occupy those places in the structure of the eternal cosmos for which we were designed or invented. As a color first reveals its true quality when placed by an excellent artist in its pre-elected spot between certain others, as a spice reveals its true flavor when inserted just where and when a good cook wishes among the other ingredients. What up, pandas? As the dog becomes really doggy only when he has taken his place in the household of man, so we shall then first be true persons when we have suffered ourselves to be fitted into our places. Pandas, we're doing a... Pandas, you know what we're doing right now, right? I don't know. Basically, I have the full ride interview on Friday for Baylor, so I'm reading up on those things we were supposed to read up on. And I'm trying to be a very good professor. We are marble waiting to be shaped, metal waiting to be run into a mold. Okay, this is actually really good because we were actually talking about this in our class the other day, in our rhetoric class the other day. We were talking about, not rhetoric, sorry, it's capstone. It's called senior seminar, actually. What we're talking about is actually how to know yourself, right? What is knowing yourself, you know? And we couldn't come to a conclusion, but I think this is actually really good because I wanted to argue that, like, there's no way to know yourself other than to know... Is the paint done drying? No, it's got like 9 hours left. I wanted to argue that the only thing you can know about yourself, and I guess, okay, this is because I'm a Christian, obviously, is that you're made in the image of God. So, like, all 15 people in the room with me, the only thing that we can actually truly know about ourselves, like, as we go inward and inward and inward, is, you know, that final thing. And so, like, we're all the same in that regard. And, you know, then we had the next 9 hours, exactly. And so then we had a discussion on whether there's more than that, whether, like, we are all different. And we talked about, you know, what if we were born, what if the same person, what if I was born in the 1800s, would I have anything the same, right? And we were like, no, you wouldn't. And so we ended up coming to a conclusion that obviously your soul is the thing that makes you different from everyone else. We all have different souls. However, this is, I think, where we should have landed right here. Personality is eternal and inviolable, but then personality is not datum from which we start. The individualism in which we all begin is only a parody or shadow of it. True personality lies ahead. How far ahead for most of us, I dare not say. And the key to it, it does not lie in ourselves. It will not be attained by development from within outwards. So it's not going to come in by us looking inwards upon ourselves. And the only time it comes in, it will come to us when we occupy those places in the structure of the eternal cosmos for which we were designed or invented. We're going to know ourselves truly when we occupy those places of which we were meant to be. And obviously I'm Christian, so... But he gives a great analogy. He gives the analogy of a color isn't really one color, one spot of paint doesn't really have its true personality until it's put in the place that is meant to be in the painting by the painter, right? Like, I can look at a bucket of red paint and I just see a bunch of red paint. I don't see like a meaning to it. But when the painter puts it on a certain page in a certain spot, the pre-elected spot, he says, um, it reveals its true quality. And same with a spice. Spice reveals its true flavor when inserted just where, you know. That's what he said, and I agree with it. We are marble waiting to be shaped, metal waiting to be run into a mold. Oh, dude, this is the last page of the first one. Wait, let me grab my pencil. I actually just dropped my pencil. Here we go. There are already, even in the unregenerative self, faint hints of what mold each is designed for, or what sort of pillar he will be. But it is, I think, a gross exaggeration to picture the saving of a soul as being normally at all like the development from seed to flower. The very words, repentance, regeneration, the new man, suggest something very different. Some tendencies in each natural man may have to be simply rejected. Our Lord speaks of eyes being plucked out and hands lopped off, a frankly Procrustean method of adaptation. The reason we recoil from this is that we have, in our day, started by getting the whole picture upside down. Starting with the doctrine that every individuality is of infinite value, we then picture God as a kind of employment committee whose business it is to find suitable careers for souls, square holes for square pegs. In fact, however, the value of the individual does not lie in him. He is capable of receiving value. He receives it by union with Christ. There is no question of finding for him a place in the living temple which will do justice to his inherent value and give scope to his natural idiosyncrasy. The place was there first. The man was created for it. He will not be himself till he is there. We shall be true and everlasting and really divine persons only in heaven, just as we are even now colored bodies only in the light. To say this is to repeat what everyone here admits already, that we are saved by grace, that in our flesh dwells no good thing, that we are, through and through, creatures, not creators, derived beings, living not of ourselves, but from Christ. If I seem to have complicated a simple matter, you will, I hope, forgive me. I have been anxious to bring out 2 points. I have wanted to try to expel that quite unchristian worship of the human individual simply as such which is so rampant in modern thought side by side with our collectivism. For one error begets the opposite error, and far from neutralizing, they aggravate each other. I mean the pestilent notion, one sees in it literary criticism, that each of us starts with a treasure called personality locked up inside him, and that to expand and express this, to guard it from interference, to be original, is the main end of life. This is Pelagian, or even worse, and it defeats even itself. No man who values originality will ever be original, but try to tell the truth as you see it. Try to do any bit of work as well as it can be done for the work's sake, and what men call originality will come unsought. Even on that level, the submission of the individual to the function is already beginning to bring true personality to birth. And secondly, I have wanted to show that Christianity is not, in the long run, concerned either with individuals or communities. Neither the individual nor the community, as popular thought understands them, can inherit eternal life. Neither the natural self nor the collective mass, but a new creature. The end. Okay, what y'all think of that first one? Jay Bent seems skeptical of that first one. Do I read the second one? Or do I in-stream and read it by myself? That's the question. Okay, wait, I'm just gonna do this real fast. I'm just looking. Okay, what y'all think of that first one, though, for real? Honestly, kind of got bored at the start of what he was talking about. Then I think the ending, he wrapped it up super well. But I'm still... Okay, does anyone actually understand, like, why... How Christianity is like the... Well, I don't know if either of you are Christian, so it would be kind of hard to answer this, but, like, he's saying, like, Christianity is not collectivism, nor is it individualism, but it's like a meeting in the middle. I'm confused by that. I don't think he wrapped that up well. But I'll probably reread this. I'll definitely be rereading this before my interview, so I will definitely give it a quick read over. But I feel like I got a lot of stuff out of it. I actually really liked the essay. Or it wasn't actually a talk, but I might leave now and call my friend and talk to this first one real quick. Unless we want to read the second one. Unless you guys want to read the second one together. It's called The Inner Ring. I don't know. It is 7 pages. Okay, no one's saying anything, so I'm going to take that as you guys don't want me to read it more. I'm going to be live. Oh, what were his points? If he had started out with the 2 most important commandments and ethical behavior, he could have done it in 1 page. Are you asking? Okay, so what were his points? So, the first point he wants to make is that religion is not about individuality and it's not about collectivism. So, individuality in the sense of not individual, sorry, okay, Christianity is not some solitary religion, nor is it a collective religion. And collective in the sense of what does he say? The rhythm of my private life. He said something about collective activity. Basically okay, when he says collective activities, he's referring to secular sort of activities where everything is purely about our natural good and not for our supernatural good. So it's not that, but it's also not and I could be reading this wrong, but that's what I thought. And then obviously it's not solitary because you still are worshiping with others, and so it's he says it's membership. It's members in a body. And then he says, so another point he makes was obviously that part about sort of social structures is probably a bad word for it, but the patriarchy is also a very, very bad word for it. But the hierarchy system of how the world was going to be, and then how it is now, and why we can't go to how the world was going to be because we're all flawed. And then he talks about equality a little bit, and he talks about personality, and that was my favorite part, the personality, which personality leads to different members making up the community, the priest, the lay reader. Yes. Yes, but he wants to emphasize the point that personality is not something you can sort of find if you do all this self-digging. It's when you what does he say? I already read this once, but it is when where is it? It's when you spend that time in and the key to it will not be taken. It will come to us when we occupy those places in the structure of the eternal cosmos for which we were designed or invented. So our personality comes to us when we occupy those places in the structure of the eternal cosmos for which we were designed or invented. That's really confusing because it seems like he's saying our personality will come to us when we get to the spot we were supposed to get to. And how are you supposed to get to that spot? He doesn't really explain. The only way I could think of to get to that spot is knowing your personality to thus be in that spot that you were designed to be in. Clearly that's not what he's saying, because that would be a paradox, I guess. And paradox might be the wrong word for that. But it's like the artist places the colors, God places the person, and you can't find your inner personality because it's not, the key to it doesn't lie in ourselves. That's what he says. And then he ends up by finishing it, blah, blah, blah. that he says these are the last two points. Christianity is not concerned neither the individual nor the community, neither the natural self, but a new creature. Christianity is concerned with a new creature. Every Sunday we have communion. What is that bread and wine we are sharing? The bread and wine we are sharing. What is that? Oh, that's a great question. What denomination are you? For us, I'm Episcopalian. So I'm part of the Anglican Church, which was when the church split, when it became Catholics and Protestants. Those Protestants were basically the Anglican Church. So Catholics are like, oh, bread and wine, when blessed, turn into Jesus' actual body and blood. Episcopalians are like, not saying it fully turns into it, but it is what do we say? We say spiritual body and blood. So it's like the closest you can get. And then, you go past that and you basically go past, like, the Presbyterian Church is, like, pretty close to that view. Like, they're like, yeah, we're basically right there as well. And then you get to, like, I don't want to say Baptist because I'm not sure if it's Baptist, but you get to, like, non-denominational churches, and it's like, oh, it's just a sign. Like, we're just remembering. But it has nothing, it's not actually his body and blood, but this is like a remembrance. We're remembering. And like the body and blood are just a sign. But yeah, that's what I think, and I might have just done that all wrong, but that's what I'm pretty sure it was. Cheers. Yeah, if you have any more questions, let me know. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna read the other one on my own. Thanks for being here. Okay, we didn't hit the sub goal, which is really sad, but we are going. No wrong answers. Yeah, there's no wrong answers. I just don't know there's no. Yes. I don't know what you're saying. There's no wrong answers to. There's no wrong answers to the bread and wine we are sharing. Yes, I don't want to say that, but I don't want to say that ours is the right answer. That's what I'll say. There is a right answer, but I don't know if it's ours. Farewell, Crash. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, you enjoyed it more than everyone else, so that's a W. I'll see you soon, brother. Thanks for popping in.